Should you be fearful about his return period?
I am fearful. And the reason that I'm fearful is because there's a clear divide with him and the team. And I'm wondering how much that's going to sift into the locker room. I want to reiterate what I said to everybody a few weeks ago. The Steelers betrayed him. Those players in that locker room betrayed him. To talk about him so publicly, the way that I'm not talking about how they feel. Because, again, if they were expecting him back and he didn't come back and you were upset about that, I understand that. I'm not talking about how they feel. I'm not talking about what they said to him privately. I'm talking about their public declarations. To do what they did publicly, knowing that you collaborate with one another as players to position yourself to get the best deal possible. You also collectively come together to lament the state of affairs as it contains the business of football and how advantage team, advantage league. You even have guys that bring up words like slavery, even though I think that's inappropriate. They've done that and stuff like that just to lament how disgusted they are with the NFL. They've done these things in the past. They've all been aligned and in concert with one another for many years on this issue. And the fact that the Players Association agreed to a 10-year deal with no out, okay, giving the league court certainty for a decade didn't help matters. To know all of that and to speak publicly against him the way that they did is betrayal. And he knows it, he feels it, and you know some of the guys in the locker room know that as well. So all of this stuff coming up, yeah, management is one thing, and you might have salty feelings towards them, but that's a given. You know that's going to happen. That always happens with every team. But walking into that locker room with those teammates, if he ain't anxious to get there, that's clear. And there's a reason for that, and I think I just said it.
Well, first of all, the players, just going to address that, and I'm going to make my point. The players caved, which they always do, because it's an extremely difficult union to control. It's a diverse union, different kinds of backgrounds, different levels of income, et cetera, different interests in the moment.
My issue with them is not the money, it's the fact that they agreed to the hard 10 years.
Right. But
they could have got out at 6 or 7
I agree.
years.
Those are the details. That's true. But in
Right.
addition to that, they're dealing with a de facto monopoly. So how much leverage do they really have? They haven't been willing to go to the wall the way the baseball players have in the past, partly because it's a very difficult and diverse union to control.
I think that's the one thing the owners would have capitulated to, though, the 6 to 7 year out of 17 years.
Should the Steelers be fearful of Le'Veon Bell's return? Is this a trick question?
No.
Let me start by saying I don't believe he's going to return. I believe they're going to deal him. I've felt that since the preseason. I still think they're going to do that. But let's say he does come back and actually play for the Steelers. Should they be fearful of the best back of the last half decade? Past half decade, he's been the best back in football when on the field. By a nice little margin, by the way. What doesn't he do? He's patient. He hits the hole. He can run between the tackles. You can line him up. You can put him in the slot. You can split him out wide. He can catch passes. He doesn't fumble the ball. He can help on the line of scrimmage. What doesn't this guy do? The best back in football over the past half decade is going to join your team who needs him, who's in a real tough fight for the division this year. And by the way, you've developed another running back to take some of the load off. Now think about this if you're Le'Veon Bell. Well, he's not going to really go all out. He wants to preserve himself for free agency. What's the best thing he can do going into free agency? Ball out, particularly in the playoffs when everyone's watching. So he's incentivized to help them to get to the playoffs, and once they're there, he'll be incentivized to ball.
Well, I think there's a couple of things that you're missing. Number one, because he's Le'Veon Bell, you're going to have to feed him to some degree. You got to wonder whether or not he wants to be fed. You never know what kind of friction that could cause. Number two, they're number 26. They got the 26th ranked rushing attack. You know where they rank in terms of attempts rushing the football? 27th. So they're not running the football, they're throwing the football, okay? James Conner is obviously doing a good job. He's averaging about 4.4 yards a carry, and he's doing a good job. We know he's no Le'Veon Bell, though. But he fits in. What I'm saying to you is that it's not that Le'Veon Bell, the player, is a liability instead of an asset, because it would be sacrilegious to say that, Max. What I'm saying is because of the chemistry that you've developed in winning 3 of your last 4, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Cincinnati, he comes in there because of what you know you did to him. That's all I mean when I talk about fear.
I just don't
you
know.
know what you did to him, how you
me ask you
betrayed
something.
him.
Are you sure he's going to be the starting back?
Yeah.
I'm
Really?
serious.
Oh,
Yeah, but
I'm
Connor-
dead serious.
Connor-
Are you
Please.
sure?
James
What about-
Conner-
Why are you laughing?
James
Because
Conner will
because
get
James
comes
Conner
down against the
because James
Browns-
Conner is no Le'Veon Bell.
But what about game shape?
Le'Veon Bell. Oh, I'm saying if you talk when you ask
I'm
that
talking
question.
about when he comes
I'm
back
talking-
against the
wait,
Browns. Are we sure
Will be
he's really
RB1.
gonna get the ball?
After
Yes,
the
he'll
bye
be
week,
RB1.
if they come back Cleveland, if you're asking me if he's going to start
Yeah,
against Cleveland,
I am.
no. But when you said starter, I'm thinking you mean
Oh,
the
yeah,
season.
yeah. No,
I mean,
of
come
course
on
not.
now.
Look,
That's Captain
look,
Obvious,
look.
yeah.
The good news for the Steelers is they got a legit back in James
Yep.
Conner. And the better news for the Steelers is they have the best back over the past half decade. In addition to James Conner, they can put them both on the field at the same time. Le'Veon Bell wants to get paid like a wideout too, in addition to an RB1, because he is a W. He's a wideout too. Except on this team, they have Juju Smith-Schuster too. It's an embarrassment of offensive riches.
Y'all
Conundrum
making
for
it,
the team
you're making
and
it sound
fantasy
very
owners as
simplistic,
well.
like he's going to go out there and ain't going to be worried at all about getting hit. You know what? It's easier to protect yourself from the running back position when you're coming out of that backfield than when you catching passes and wondering who's coming up under you.
You want to get paid?
Keep in mind
Is he
that.
looking to get paid?
Yes, he is.
Then he's going to ball in the playoffs.